I've always been haunted by the memories of that fateful trip to Japan, a childhood experience that still sends shivers down my spine to this day. It was the summer of 1997, and my parents decided to take my younger brother, Jake, and me on a vacation to Osaka. Little did we know that this journey would turn into a nightmare that would forever scar our souls. Our first few days in Japan were magical. We explored bustling markets, tasted exotic foods, and marveled at the ancient temples. The air was thick with mystery and wonder. But, as we ventured deeper into the heart of Osaka, our vacation took a chilling turn. One evening, after a long day of sightseeing, we decided to take a stroll near our hotel, not far from an empty park. The sun had already dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows that danced ominously in the dimming light. The air felt heavy with an eerie stillness, and a sense of foreboding crept over us. As we approached the empty park, we noticed a figure hunched over in a dark corner. She was a woman, her long, jet-black hair cascading over her face, obscuring her features. Her shoulders trembled, and it appeared as though she was crying. My parents, being kind-hearted souls, couldn't just walk away from someone in distress, especially in a foreign country. "Are you all right?" my father asked in broken Japanese, his voice filled with concern. The woman slowly raised her head, revealing a pale, ghostly face. Her eyes were swollen and red, as if she had been weeping for an eternity. But what horrified us the most was her mouth. It was grotesquely sliced open from ear to ear, forming a nightmarish grin. She didn't reply to my father's question. Instead, her mournful cries turned into a haunting hum, an eerie melody that sent chills down our spines. She rose from her crouched position and took a hesitant step toward us. "We should go," my mother whispered, her voice trembling with fear. But it was too late. With unnatural speed, the slit-mouthed woman lunged at us, her jagged mouth stretching impossibly wide as she screamed and cried in a disturbing mix of agony and rage. Her gory maw seemed to devour the very air around her. We turned and ran, our hearts pounding in our chests. The woman pursued us relentlessly, her inhuman screams echoing through the darkened streets of Osaka. My little brother, Jake, was crying in terror, his small legs struggling to keep up with the frantic pace. My parents urged us to run faster, but the relentless chase continued. We finally reached the safety of our hotel, slamming the door shut behind us. Our bodies trembled, and our breaths came in ragged gasps. The slit-mouthed woman stood outside, her grotesque face pressed against the glass, her cries and hums muffled but still audible. Terrified and unable to comprehend the horror we had just witnessed, we huddled together in our hotel room, praying for the morning light to banish the nightmare. It was a nightmarish encounter that would haunt our dreams for years to come, a tale we could barely bring ourselves to share with anyone. We never returned to that empty park in Osaka, and we left Japan as soon as we could. But the image of the slit-mouthed woman, her nightmarish grin and chilling cries, would forever linger in our memories, a terrifying reminder of that horrifying night in a foreign land, where the line between reality and nightmare blurred into madness. As the shadows of night settled over the tranquil coastal town of Okinawa, Timmy couldn't have imagined the horrors that awaited him during his family's fateful trip to Japan. At the time, he was a curious and adventurous teenage boy, thrilled by the prospect of exploring a foreign land with his parents and his younger sister, Emily. They had checked into a quaint, traditional Japanese hotel nestled along the shores of the Pacific Ocean, unaware that their picturesque vacation would soon descend into a nightmare beyond imagination. Their hotel was a beautiful, traditional ryokan with sliding paper doors, tatami mat floors, and an idyllic view of the serene ocean waves caressing the sandy shores. Timmy, his parents, and Emily were captivated by the charm of the place, which had the allure of an ancient Japanese inn. Little did they know that this place held a dark secret, one that would haunt them for the rest of their lives. On the first night of their stay, the family settled into their room, excited about their adventures ahead. But as midnight drew near, a strange and unsettling atmosphere began to envelop the room. It started with a faint, eerie humming that echoed throughout the hallway. Timmy, half asleep, dismissed it as a part of the hotel's ambience. However, the haunting tune grew louder and more discordant with each passing minute. Timmy's parents, too, were now wide awake and exchanged worried glances. The humming was unsettling, but it was soon accompanied by something far more sinister. The sound of heavy breathing and the sensation of someone watching them sent shivers down their spines. Suddenly, there was a knock at their door. It was soft at first, almost polite, but it grew more insistent. Timmy's father, Mr. Anderson, cautiously approached the door. He slid the paper screen open, revealing a dimly lit hallway outside. But no one was there. Just the sound of the sea, crashing rhythmically against the shore. As Mr. Anderson scratched his head in confusion, the humming returned, louder and more disturbing than ever. This time, it seemed to come from right outside their door. Timmy, Emily, and their mother, Mrs. Anderson, huddled together in fear. The room felt oppressively cold as they watched the sliding door begin to slowly slide open by itself. That's when they saw her. A woman, dressed in a tattered kimono, stood just beyond the threshold. Her hair hung in disheveled strands that partially obscured her face. But it was her face that chilled them to their very core. Her cheeks were grotesquely slit, extending upwards into a sinister, permanent smile. In her hand, she clutched a pair of rusty scissors, their blades glinting ominously in the dim light. The woman began to scream and cry uncontrollably in a language none of them understood. Her voice was a cacophony of anguish and despair, and her actions seemed possessed by some malevolent force. The family, paralyzed with fear, watched as she slowly approached, her disjointed words and agonizing wails intensifying. Unable to bear it any longer, Timmy's father slammed the door shut and locked it. They could still hear the woman's cries from the other side, her relentless attempts to break into their sanctuary causing the wooden panels to creak and groan. The long night seemed to stretch on forever as they clung to each other, the horrifying sounds persisting until the first rays of dawn. Exhausted and terrified, they ventured out of their room, only to find that the hallway was empty. The woman had vanished without a trace, and the hotel staff claimed to have heard and seen nothing. Their vacation took on a nightmarish quality, their days spent in constant fear, and their nights haunted by the memory of that horrifying encounter. As they left the hotel and returned to their normal lives, Timmy, Emily, and their parents would often awaken in the dead of night, the ghostly specter of the woman with slit cheeks and rusty scissors lingering in their dreams, a chilling reminder of the inexplicable horrors they had witnessed on that fateful night in Okinawa.